A mint green unicorn grumbled to herself as she rounded her way up the flight of stairs leading to her apartment. She hated being on the 100th floor for 2 reasons. 1, there wasn't an elevator, so she had to climb the full 100 floors stair by stair. 2, her window frame was broken and let outside air in, all of it unhealthily smoggy and dirty. But this was where she had to live to do her job most effectively, as it wasn't worth the risk to let the city go without her being there. The apartment complex wasn't particularly well kept, but it was cheap. Really cheap. Which was good since her job didn't actually have much in the way of monetary compensation. Her superiors ensured she would have a place to live and plenty of food to eat, but she had almost no spending money for use on her free time. Not that she ever had much of that anyway. She often wondered, daily in fact, if any of her counterparts had this sort of difficulty working in their worlds. She grudgingly opened her apartment door with a rusty set of keys, walked in, and took a deep breath to calm herself after the climb, regretting it as she got a mouthful of filthy, smoggy, new pandemonium late afternoon air. She shook what felt like dust and cobwebs out of her sky-blue mane and tail, as they had a habit of clinging to her on the climb up, then dropped her keys on the nearby table. With a cough, she went to her kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and prepared a snack for herself. Prepared, of course, meant just taking a packet of Dollar Red out and opening it, then squeezing it out of its little tube directly into her mouth. It wasn't anything special, as those sorts of things were hard to come by, but it wasn't bad. Straight out of the package like this, it actually tasted like overly ripe cherries. She kept the packet aloft with her magic as she moved out into the den to take a load off. It had been a hard day at work, and she delighted in taking this chance to lounge on her sofa, loosen her bow tie, remove her sweater vest, and just plain relax. 15 cases today, the last of which was interrupted by a pack of nudists, which could have been bad. Really bad. She flicked on the television set in the corner, hoping to lose herself in the latest gossip that she didn't actually care about. It was calming, and living in a city like New Pandemonium meant that she needed all the calm she could get. Then she noticed it. There was a neon green glow coming from her antique grandfather clock in the other corner. She hastily fumbled in the pocket of her sweater vest and pulled out a plain-looking silver stopwatch. She clicked the top with her hoof, and the grandfather clock stopped glowing, opened wide, and let in a fresh breeze of sterile air with just a hint of minty freshness. Despite knowing she was alone in the apartment, she followed protocol and double-checked the room for intruders, then entered the grandfather clock's tight entrance, shutting the door behind her with a click. It was filled with all sorts of gadgets, tools, monitors, levers, knobs, and other assorted technological wonders that looked nothing like the technology outside. Its size meant it wasn't directly attached to the world she just left either. If it were, she knew she'd be standing in her neighbor's bathroom right at this moment, probably in the bathtub, or worse, the toilet. One particular monitor drew her attention. It was glowing a bright red as opposed to the soothing greens and blues of the others. She trotted over to it, clicked a few buttons, and adjusted the screen's focus until she could make out the image of a familiar face, a light brown stallion with a spiked chocolate brown mane.
Time, Dana? This is unexpected.
Oh, thanks, Celestia. I thought you'd never answer. Ruddy portal storms. How are you holding up over there, TikTok? You look proper knackered.
Been up all bloody day trying to calm everything down. Finally get a chance to rest up, and now here you are.
TikTok shook her head.
You're on the emergency channel. Is something the matter?
Well, that's just it. There is, but I'm not exactly sure what yet.
Time Turner wiped his brow again.
I mean, there shouldn't be anything wrong, but here I am contacting you because I fear that my last case had a bit of an error somewhere, and I can't figure out what exactly went awry. I had a pretty standard tear here, and according to all my readings, it started out rather small. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary, just a totally dull, normal, day-to-day tear. Unfortunately, it appeared a little too close to civilization this time, as in within miles of an actual town. I usually don't have that sort of trouble, not like you do. The locals don't usually see the tears before I get to them, but I got distracted by that bloody mail pony and—
TikTok cocked her eyebrow.
Distracted? Mail pony?
Time Turner waved a hoof.
Never mind. Anyway, some pony did something to it. I don't know if they tried to absorb the magic like some mad pony, or if they were just throwing spells at it, or if the bloody fool was actually trying to seal it without proper equipment or know-how. Whatever the case may be, 6 ponies got warped from my world to yours. That's the long and short of it.
TikTok tapped her chin.
Doesn't sound too problematic. We have this sort of thing happen often enough, it's practically routine. Get them to another portal, give my timekeeper a little click.
She mimed, clicking her stopwatch.
Wind it up, send the poor blighters home. What's the big problem? You're acting like this is serious. Look at you, you're sweating and everything.
That's just it. I can't explain it.
Time Turner took out his own timekeeper and frantically pointed at it.
These past few hours, I've been getting some bizarre readings from all over my end. I can't be certain just yet, but most are similar enough to chaos signatures that for now, I'm going to make the assumption that they are.
Chaos magic.
TikTok rubbed the side of her head in thought.
You're right. That makes no bloody sense at all. You think they're connected?
Naturally. I need you to find these ponies and let me know who they are, so that I can try and figure out if any of them are of enough importance that it would cause this. Luckily, all the readings are pretty small right now. Honestly, I'm hoping that it's just an errant glitch from sealing a portal with that much energy, but, well, I have to prepare for the worst, you understand?
Righto then, sounds simple enough.
TikTok frowned.
Oh, bugger! I probably won't be able to send them home for a while, though. That portal storm just finished passing through. I already finished sealing everything up. The portal report says I'm not expecting any more tears for at least another month. That won't be a problem, will it? You are making this sound awfully urgent.
Time Turner wiped his brow again.
Well, of all the rotten luck. Hopefully it won't matter, but we'll worry about that after we find out who they are. If it's serious, you can always fall back on emergency measures. Hopefully this is just a minor glitch, and we can fix it and be back to our merry little usual business, eh? I'll send you my dimensional data so you can track them. Thanks again, TikTok. Always a pleasure. Cheerio!
TikTok smiled.
Not at all, Time Turner. Always good talking to you, too. Stiff upper lip and all that.
Time Turner pushed several buttons, and a sound behind TikTok signaled that the information he was sending was being transferred over to her database. She waved him farewell, grabbed her timekeeper, and tapped it to the central core, copying the data into the more portable device. She then opened it and clicked the top several times until it glowed a dull green with a single dot near the center, with a line making circles around it. Finally, she exited the grandfather clock and ventured back out into her apartment, adjusted her bow tie, put her sweater vest back on, and began the arduous descent back down the stairs to the city streets. A chronomancer's work was never done.
Thousands of miles south of New Pandemonium City, beyond the great expanse of the arid desert that bordered the city's mile-high walls, and across the great churning ocean, there was a place altogether wondrous. A place filled with magic that lived and breathed of its own accord, spurred on by the relentless power that fueled it. A place where one could watch as lightning danced for an eternity, and where fire smoldered yet never burned out. The Belt of Tranquility. The belt stretched precisely along the equator, in the center of the massive ocean that made up 1/3 of the planet's surface, separating the other 2/3, the northern and southern continents. To its north, the sky was filled with a veil of churning magic, colored a murky orange, generated by a massive tower in the center of New Pandemonium City, sitting precisely at the planet's northern pole. To its south, the air was clear and bright, kept clean by a veil of invisible magic generated by a similar tower at the southern pole, itself sitting at the center of a much smaller city deep within the snowy tundra. Where these two fields of magic collided, the Belt of Tranquility was formed, a massive wall of magic that caused the seas and skies along the entire equator to thrash violently about. Today, something was amiss at the Belt of Tranquility. A consciousness floated tenaciously in the rift between dreaming and reality, poised near the points where the magical energies were at their fiercest. But staying firmly on the northern side, the entity could feel that something was out of place. The Belt of Tranquility was very slowly shifting, and light was becoming the dominant force. This would not do, the entity mused to itself. This would not do at all. The entity willed itself to fully enter the state of dreaming, that it could contact the one pony that would see to it that this dilemma would be resolved. Lord Silvertongue looked out the window of his private study, out into the cityscape of New Pandemonium far, far below. Here, in the highest reaches of Pandora, Pandemonium's tallest skyscraper, he could see the entire skyline of the city. The study was elegant and richly decorated with varieties of items that Silvertongue held dear to him. The banner of New Pandemonium City, a flaming red sword thrust through a shining golden disc against a black void, decorated the far wall. An old portrait of himself was posted with esteem on the nearest wall, just above the mantelpiece. A record player, an antique from times long forgotten, rested upon the table in the corner and played his favorite ballad. The ballad was an old opera, sung in a language that he knew very, very few in Pandemonium could ever hope to speak. The singer, a mare with a high falsetto, filled the lyrics with her soul, bringing the scene to life as her character was confronted by her lover, the opera's villain, who asked her to give up her life as a princess to run away with him. It was meant to be the climax of the opera, but Silvertongue played it because it brought him peace of mind, something that he, as the shadow ruler of this great city of darkness and chaos, felt was crucial to his sanity. The powers of dark magics were at their strongest here in this city, as Pandora Tower was where the great beacon had been built, generating a veil of murky orange magic that blocked out the sky. The beacon was fueled by and influenced evil thoughts in the minds of ponies, and while not every single citizen in the city was an avid follower of these ideals, and in fact few of them actually were, there was enough corruption and easily overlooked laws in place to make chaos and evil a typical day-to-day activity, even if the ponies were unaware of it. To the average onlooker, nothing in the city made sense. He designed it that way in order to keep the beacon running. And all the while, the citizens had this grand illusion that the chaos of the city was still a better life, a better existence than the complacent, high-cost, constrictive, and exclusive society of Utopia's gleaming crystal spires and gold-paved roads. The people of Pandemonium weren't good enough for Utopia. Utopia was much too strict and much too expensive for them. That was what the unwashed masses all believed. They were easy to deceive, easy to exploit. The record finished. Silvertongue tore himself from the window and his inner thoughts. His horn glowed a grim red as he lifted the record from its place, returned it to its sleeve, and replaced it in a nearby cabinet, where it would remain until he wished for it again. He turned back to the window, his horn aglow, and flicked a number of switches alongside it. The window darkened until it was completely black, then became a perfectly reflective surface, bouncing the image of the room back to him. He carefully gauged himself in the reflection. His pristine silver coat was as pure and radiant as ever. Not a single bright golden hair in his impeccably styled mane was out of place. A monocle rested upon his left eye and was spotless enough that it enhanced the luster of the sea blue color. His fanciest dress uniform was immaculate and covered him from neck to flank, the shiny black leather polished and gleaming in the single light of the room, the red trim glistening like freshly picked cherries, or, more appropriately, freshly spilt blood. His appearance was absolutely perfect. It had to be. Nihila's prized warden wouldn't allow otherwise in her presence.
You were expecting me?
Silvertongue did not turn to face the source of the voice. That of Nihila, the goddess of disparity. There would be no point. It spoke directly into his mind. There was no physical thing to even look at. In all things Silvertongue knew. He knew this. Alicorns were the most exquisite creatures in existence, blessed with such incredible magic that they were above a mortal form. A mortal body was not worthy enough to contain their elegance, their raw power. Physical beauty, even of the absolute highest caliber, was not even worth the slightest fraction of what alicorns appeared like to one's mind's eye.
I am always expecting you, milady.
Silvertongue bowed, even though his was the only physical body in the room.
It would be of no benefit to me to be in any less than flawless physical condition, lest you visit me in dire straits and become dissatisfied with my dedication.
Well spoken, my warden.
Silvertongue shuddered at the way her voice touched the deepest recesses of his mind. It would be alarming were he not used to it.
I come to you with urgent news this day. Troubling news.
Silvertongue's curiosity showed on his face for the fleetest minuscule of a second, and he briefly touched upon a thought of concern that his intrigue would be mistaken for worry.
The balance between light and darkness. It is waning.
Silvertongue raised an eyebrow.
Waning? Harmonia would never indulge herself in such an action. It goes against her very nature.
I have seen it first, Puff, my warden. Do you not trust my claims?
Silvertongue smirked as a spark flared through his mind. She loved to tease his devotion.
It would be folly of me to trust you unquestioningly, milady. Deception comes as naturally to you as fish take to water and birds to the sky. I did not mean to sound as though I doubted you. I merely state the obvious. Harmonia is not to blame here. I am accustomed to as much, knowing far too well that she would never threaten the balance on her own whim.
Nihila's fiery anger left him, replaced by an icy calm that filled his being in a soft, gentle manner.
That is a valid observation. If not Harmonia, then what is causing this imbalance, my warden? I would have you investigate this issue and discern the cause. You are most efficient in these matters.
Investigate, milady? I cannot fathom a guess as to where to begin. If it is the light that is shifted, then I would need to investigate that beacon, and I have not the resources to gather information in such a timely manner as you seem to require. That would perhaps take months to accomplish, assuming the best conditions.
Troubling indeed, but perhaps you don't need to.
The spark returned in Silvertongue's head. An idea.
Has anything suspicious occurred in your city lately, my warden? I could feel many disturbances in the magics of the void this day. They did not linger long. A new chronomancer has taken to your city in recent years.
Nihila's voice became sultry. The feeling was both terrifying and enticing all at once, and made Silvertongue's skin crawl and heart melt.
A shame, wasting all of that delicious energy.
Yes, I'll admit that I do recall murmurs of an event like that. The first time in decades that the city has seen that manner of portal. A moment, milady.
Silvertongue strode over to his intercom system and tapped one of the buttons.
Shroud?
A mayor's voice came over the intercom.
Yes, sir?
I need a report of all suspicious activity that may have occurred in the city in the last, say, 12 hours.
Of course, my lord. I'll have the report on your desk in 30.
Now, Shroud, if you would. This is a delicate matter.
Of course, sir. My apologies, sir. Let's see.
A shuffle of papers and clicks of buttons came from the other end.
Here we go. There were numerous sightings of strange energy spheres from the city, but they all disappeared soon after being spotted.
Yes, I'm already well aware of that, Shroud. Anything else? Perhaps something I wouldn't find on the news?
Oh, right. Let's see. Oh, here's one from the NPPD and NPRD Census Bureau. Apparently they've registered 6 new taxpayers from Utopia today, and Police Chief Smokestack put in for his pay raise application rather suddenly. The committee thinks...
Silvertongue slammed a hook next to the intercom.
I am not concerned with what the committee thinks!
He hated the committee. Their jobs were so meaningless and contradictory to everything the city stood for, but he needed them to ensure that all the day-to-day ruling was taken care of. He long since sunk into the shadows of maintaining the city, but could not become too involved himself. And, when they made mistakes and too much order returned to the city, well, that rarely ever happened anymore. He'd made sure of it.
Deliver that report immediately. That'll be all, Shroud.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. If you need anything else, please.
The intercom shut off. Silvertongue waited for only but a moment before the folder containing what he was looking for teleported in front of him, falling neatly onto his desk. He opened it and removed the files, then flipped through the pages. As he read, his face contorted in cemented concentration, and he probed the pieces of this particularly peculiar puzzle.
Something amiss, my lord?
I'm not accustomed to getting new citizens from Utopia. Even when I do, it's always temporary. No pony ever comes here from elsewhere to stay.
I can think of one exception.
Only one exception, milady.
Silvertongue tapped his chin.
It is most suspicious that 6 new visitors from Utopia would arrive today, all at the same time and even in the same place. The committee, small-minded fools that they are, believe the story of fabrication, and that these 6 are in actuality refugees from the wastelands. A minor detail in this report about them being apprehended on charges of public indecency? I'd almost forgotten we even had that law. And lack of identification. I'm more concerned with the chief of police taking a rather large cut of the allotment of funds these new citizens will generate, and think that he is covering for them.
And? Is that all?
Silvertongue thought for a moment before responding.
These fluctuations, milady. You posit the belief that a chronomancer was involved in sealing them?
That I did, my Wuten. Do you see some connection here?
Then perhaps these new citizens truly aren't from Utopia, but are from someplace more alien. Quite a coincidence, is it not? For there to be multiple distortions on this precise day, and for 6 new ponies to appear with no knowledge of our customs, claiming to be from across the sea? We know little of what it is exactly that chronomancers do, but perhaps this is somehow related.
Nihila stayed silent for a moment, then responded with the icy calm from earlier.
My Warden, uncover more about these creatures you have found. I await a swift response.
Silvertongue bowed.
As always, milady.
Silvertongue felt her leave, and at last felt at ease again. While Nihila's essence was in his mind, he found it difficult to avoid having his entire series of thoughts laid bare for her to peruse like a book. Even after all these years, he found it discomforting. He pushed the button on the intercom again.
Shroud?
Yes, my lord?
Summon Shadowstep for me, if you would.
Of course, sir. I'll notify him right away.
Silvertongue lit his horn and darkened the room, then patiently waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes. He sensed a presence with him, a physical one at that, and lit his horn again to re-illuminate his study. Sitting in the chair that had been empty before on the other side of his desk was a lithe Pegasus stallion. He wore a black, form-fitting uniform, with deep purple gradient as it approached his head and dark blue trim around the eyes. It covered him from head to hoof, hiding any sort of identity. All that could be used to distinguish him were his bright green eyes, the slightest bit of a pale blue coat, and his short and tidy midnight blue mane and tail that stuck out through slips in the fabric. Silvertongue did not bother himself with the effort of turning to face the new guest. He could sense his presence just fine, and see him clearly in the reflection on the window screen. Silvertongue nodded.
Punctual as always, Shadowstep.
Of course, my lord.
The Pegasus got out of the seat to bow before sitting back down again.
You called me. That means you have a job for me, yeah? What is it? Ooh, is it the poisoning the drink of some stallion on the committee again? Oh, I do so love assassinations. Please tell me it's an assassination.
Not this time, no. This is one occasion where I can't imagine any violence will be necessary. At least, for now.
Silvertongue's horn glowed as he tossed the portfolio neatly onto the desk behind him.
There. That portfolio holds your initial targets.
Shadowstep pawed at the folder, opening it warily. Inside were the identification pictures and file information on 6 newly registered ponies from Ponyville, Utopia. He had been to Utopia on numerous occasions and found it a dreadfully boring place. Nothing like Pandemonium. But he had never heard of a place called Ponyville, which to him sounded like the most ridiculous made-up name for a town he'd ever heard. Their names seemed normal enough. and they certainly looked normal enough. Even if some of their ID pictures were somewhat odd, the purple unicorn looked intoxicated, and the orange earth pony appeared somewhat brain-dead. Shadowstep placed the portfolio back on the desk, then leaned back in the chair and crossed his hooves.
What is so important about them? They don't even look like any pony'd miss them if they were to suddenly disappear.
That's not really any of your concern, Shadowstep, but it is what you're going to find out. Find them, follow them, see if they do or mention anything suspicious. If you happen to notice any pony else tailing them around, follow them instead, and if at all possible, ensure they won't interfere with any further plans. If you follow my meaning.
Shadowstep pumped a hoof.
Yes! I knew there was murder involved somewhere here. Otherwise, why call me? Oh, thank you, my lord.
You have your orders. Carry them out.
Aye, sir.
Silvertongue flicked the lights off and on again once more, and in the brief matter of seconds that the lights flickered, Shadowstep had vanished. If there was one pony good, perhaps perfect at his job, so long as that job was sneaking around through the darkness and being a spy or assassin, then Silvertongue knew no pony more qualified than Shadowstep, and no pony more loyal to him. Alone at last, and not expecting any more company any time soon, Silvertongue placed a new record on the player and started it. Eyeing the contents of the folder once more, he stared thoughtfully at the picture of 6 ponies that he was absolutely certain were going to be very interesting.